Welcome to the Trend Detection Podcast powered by Siemens. And now, your host, Niall Sullivan.
Hello, and welcome to the latest episode of the Trend Detection Podcast. I'm really pleased to be joined by one of my colleagues in the UK, Steve Hanslow. And we're actually talking about a topic, or I should say an industry or vertical that we don't usually cover on the podcast. So, and I think there's a lot to learn, not just for that industry itself, but I think other industries and people listening to the podcast in other industries we can all learn from different industries, right? I think all of us can. And today we're talking about the water industry, which is one I'm not too well versed in either, so I can learn a lot too. But before we sort of dive into the topic, I'm going to hand over to Steve just to introduce yourself to the audience. Over to you, Steve.
Thank you, sir. Yeah, so hello everybody, or if there's anybody there. My name is Steve Hanslow. I head up our vertical sales in the UK for the digital industries business. So that's number one hat. I also double hat with that, and I look after the water vertical and have done now in the UK for the last 8 years. And that position there is to understand the market, the drivers in the market, and then to promote our products, solutions, and services into the UK water market, predominantly focus on the water and wastewater companies, but we're looking to grow that out over the next couple of years into the water-only companies as well. So we account manage all of the UK, the 10 UK accounts, with a view to creating long-term relationships so that we can, build long-term business for the future. So that's a very, very quick intro from me.
Excellent. Very good intro as well, and well positioned to talk on this topic. So, well, I'd like to say, so we're going to start very broad with this. So actually, we're talking about the water industry, but more specifically, or it's still a quite broad topic, but digital transformation across the water industry. So I guess we'll start wide and then narrow in on some specific topics. But from your point of view, Steve, what does sort of digital transformation mean when it comes to the water industry, and why is it sort of essential in this day and age?
So I think what's important we've got to remember here is digital transformation is a buzzword across all industries at the minute. Everybody's talking about it. Everybody's very, very keen to open some form of digital transformation conversation. I think what's worth starting with is within the UK water industry is the scale of the challenge around anything when we talk about digital in water. And what I mean by that is if you look at what the water industry does on a daily basis, before we talk about digital transformation, before we talk about what everybody wants them to do better, we should actually acknowledge some of the work that they already do. For example, they deliver 15 billion litres of clean water every day. They treat 15 billion litres of waste every day. They deliver that through 500,000 kilometres of network in waste, 500,000 kilometres of network in clean water. And that's delivered off 1,000 water treatment plants creating drinking water and 6,500 wastewater treatment plants. And those are then distributed across the geography of the UK, not always connected to means of communications or the rest of it. And on top of that, they've got automation in those sites anywhere between 2 and 32 years of age. So when we start talking about digital transformation, we should start, I think, from a point of understanding where that is and what the challenges are for the customer. And I think the bits that they're keen on, they're looking at integrating those advanced technologies, whether that be IoT, artificial intelligence, big data analytics, and they're looking to utilise that to enhance their water management system. And they really need to do that because it enables some, that real-time monitoring, brings in the predictive maintenance, and they're looking to use that to drive some of their KPIs, such as water loss, such as reduced energy, such as reduced OPEX. In order to do that, they're going to have to adopt these smart technologies, and that's going to be a bit of a challenge as well because of the learning, the skill sets that are there. All manufacturers are telling everybody what's great about the newest, shiniest thing in the product portfolio. What we've got to remember is people have got to adopt those, and there's that. That's the shift from traditional manual processes to that automated, data-driven approaches, and that's a big step. That is a huge step, and for me, that digital transformation is about leveraging those digital tools and platforms to enable the UK water companies to modernise operations and improve that service delivery. And that's so important for the next asset management programme in the UK. That will be the top and tail of what does digital transformation mean for UK water, I would guess.
No, and that's a really fantastic summary. I think we should clip that one. Whoever editor listening out there for future, because that just seemed to summarise, and it's really opened up the conversation. I've written a few things I wanted to dive into there. But do you think the problem initially, Steve, to your point about because I know, even the broad topic of this podcast is about digital transformation. It's incredibly broad, but do you think it actually becomes confusing for water companies when there's just so many different products, companies all pushing this digital transformation agenda, and they're probably aware that they need to do something about it, but when there's so much noise, it's like, which path do I go down, which is right, which is wrong? And particularly important in water, like I say, because it's an essential infrastructure, obviously.
I think you've raised a really, really relevant point there. Once digital transformation becomes the new buzzword, many things happen. Digital twin was the last one. Everybody wanted a digital twin, and that became quite confused because what was a digital twin? Who was the digital twin for? We had management board saying we need a digital twin. What of? We need digital transformation. What of? I'll use a colleague of mine's reference to it, Mike Orton, and he always talked about turbo being the next best thing, and all of a sudden it started with a Subaru Turbo Impreza, I think, winning every it's Audi, wasn't it? Audi Turbo winning every rally within 2 months or 2 years maybe. You had turbo kettles, you had turbo toasters, you had buzzwords. Marketing gets hold of it and it throws it up in the air a little bit. And I think digital transformation is one of those. And what you touched on then is it becomes very, very confusing because everybody wants to do some digital transformation. I don't think there's our job in sales is to paint that picture of what it looks like. And I think we're still learning how to do that. We're learning how to pitch that digital transformation. We're really, really confident when we want to talk about engineering. We're really, really confident about we want to install things. We want to integrate things. We're going to tell you how fast our things go. We're going to tell you what wonderful things it does. But we haven't created that end-to-end pitch yet to take away the confusion. So my rambling response is yes, I agree. It's confusing. We need to be clearer.
Exactly. And another point to pick up on is one of the biggest challenges. So again, one challenge is being lots of noise out there, lots of products, lots of solutions out there to the challenges you mentioned. But you mentioned adoption being an issue as well. Do you want to sort of expand on that a little bit, Steve? About the adoption?
I would say adoption or go to market, however you want to put it, is the biggest challenge. And I use an example of something we did with Scottish Water. And at the time, we had the Lighthouse team in Manchester, and they were able to get involved with an inquiry we had around Scottish Water wanted to address their OPEX costs and wanted to understand how their assets were performing. And we were able to go back to the last comment, we were able to simplify the message. and we were able to talk to them around a condition-based monitoring approach, around the right sensor on the right application with the right connectivity, understanding the importance of the assets, and bring that together. Now, the way that we addressed that is we had dialogue with the customer, the consultant, and that lighthouse team went back into the world of Siemens and did all the research and presented a solution back to the customer. And that solution included IoT, it included connectivity, it included the right network switching, it included the right platform, and it included the customer being presented with the data set that he wanted to see. None of the background office stuff. If we'd have done that in a conventional way, which is what we pick on today, we'd have started the conversation with at least 3 product managers in front of the customer, talking about what the right sensor was. We would then have the discussion about how they bought the sensor, which would have been through a distributor. We'd have then had the conversation about how that sensor was installed, which would have been through a third party. We'd have then had the conversation about what that was connected to get the comms on it, which would be another contractor bringing in. We'd have then needed that in a panel. We'd have then needed a cloud provider. We'd have then needed another purchase order because it would have been different. Would have been then needed somebody to integrate the cloud to the OT. Would have then needed somebody to talk about security. So all of a sudden, what starts off as it'd be really nice to know what the asset do, it becomes really, really difficult, and it goes into the hard to do box. And that's when I think customers lose a little bit of excitement, because we can talk about what it could do, but going from the catalogue or the pitch, the sell, to actually the real world delivered and performing as we've advised is a huge step. And that needs a partner approach. It needs people working with us. We need a network of people that we collaborate with.
Yeah, and I guess what you're outlining there, Steve, as well, is the Siemens accelerator approach. So it's not just about Siemens can't solve everything, but actually it's a partnership between the customer, between partners of ours, and Siemens obviously themselves as well. It has to work like that for them to succeed.
And that that's the adoption piece. We can do the OT, we can do the connectivity, we can do the cloud, we can do the into the IT world. We can get that there. We can look after the cyber piece technically, but we can't integrate that ourselves. So we need partners who are going to be able to provide that, and we've got to work with those partners and acknowledge that they're going to be, they're potentially going to be project leads in it. They're going to be ones that are delivering it.
Absolutely, and that's it. Yeah, and that's exactly the right attitude from my point of view too. And another thing that often comes up in other industries and other conversations I have, and it's a big hot topic at the moment, is sort of knowledge gaps within organisations, or people leaving organisations, and knowledge leaving organisations, retirement, or to move companies and things like that. Is that something that's a big concern in the water industry too?
Well, yeah. I mean, if we take just take Scottish Water again for example, an example there. Scottish Water have got a very, very well-run apprentice program. They're bringing in people regularly to maintain their automation and control assets. But as soon as those people come out of their time, there's vacancies in oil and gas. There's vacancies in the brewing industry. There's lots of vacancies that are probably a little bit more glamorous than the wastewater or water industry, and that applies to all of the water companies. So, knowledge sharing, how we bring people up to speed. Again, an example there where we've adopted a water company has adopted some connected devices monitoring asset performance. That was delivered by one of the improvement teams. When it came to be handed over to the day-to-day operations and maintenance, they wanted it taken out because they didn't know what it was, they didn't understand it. it was another addition to the maintenance program. They were quite happy with it as it was. So, bringing the customer along with us is a really, really important part of it as well.
Yeah, and that's why I know talking about predictive maintenance specifically and Senseye and what we do. So I think we've gone through this before, where through projects where not everyone's involved, and then eventually when it's deployed and the maintenance, and at that point the maintenance team are involved, it's like, oh, we don't really want this. So I mean, as you know, you don't need me to explain it, but the way we approach it is to bring stakeholders together, from across the business, IT and OT side and maintenance and engineering side, to bring them together early on, so they're almost working together and the other thing is about fitting in with existing workflows as well, because like I said, being told you got to use a new system, no one likes to do that. But if you can say, actually, it flows nicely between this system and this, and it all integrates seamlessly, then that's important. And it goes back to that point about an ecosystem of partners and different and delivery and stuff for that to work.
See, when I look at the Senseye piece, and I know water, and I look at the Senseye piece, I think they're made for each other. This is an absolutely natural fit, right? This should be, we as a sales team, this should be our number one, low hanging fruit, whatever you want to call it. We should be able to pick this up, and you show it to people, and I get excited about it from my engineering background, and I think, what great insight we're providing there. But I've never ever seen anybody in a water company's face light up like mine does when we talk about it. And I was interested, I've been scratching my head as to the whys around that. And I think you've certainly touched on one there, is around adoption into workflows. Once we've created the insight, what do we do with it? Where does it go? So we create the insight, great, we know something, but how do we then take it from an asset on one of the 6,300 sites across the UK? How do we turn that into something to do? And we can't do that in UK water, because they're already looking at big data. They're all on the Azure data lake. They're all trying to find these little pieces of information. So they're already at that. So that's difficult in itself. But the other thing is, when we leave, we're leaving the customer with a squiggle. And what I mean by that is, UK water companies do not have CBM engineers. They do not have people who are focused on condition-based monitoring and understanding trends and understanding vibrations and understanding analysis. All they see is a squiggle, and they don't know what that means. And that's not, that's down to the knowledge piece. They can't know everything. So they've got this little squiggle. What does the squiggle mean? The big change, I think, is the co-pilot addition into Senseye. That is an absolute game changer if we can get the message off in the right way. I'm gonna pinch something I heard the other day. Everybody's got a data lake. We just need to work out what we're fishing for in the lake. There's that many, what fish are we trying to catch, and how big are we looking for in this big data lake of data? And the co-pilot piece for me just makes that so much easier. You just tell the co-pilot, I want this fish at this size, kind of analogy. The ability to ask what the squiggle means has taken all that away. And I think that's a really exciting piece for us to look at.
Yeah, I've never heard that analogy before, but actually that makes a lot of sense as well, because I've been at events and things, been on exhibition stands and spoken to people before, and they've talked about this idea that, we've collected all this data, it's great. We've Industry 4.0 tells us to collect all this data, and then it's like, now what do we do with it? Where does it go? What's the next bit? And Senseye is part of that next bit, but there's also energy monitoring and all sorts of things you can do with the data. But is that your perspective as well, Steve? You sort of explained it there. Big data, lots of data everywhere. Great, IoT, and you're doing all the right stuff, but it's now, what do we do with it? That's the big question for water.
What are we fishing for? It's all in the data lake. What do we want out of it? What do we want out of the data lake? What do we want to know? And I think that's that's part of, as much as part of the adoption as well. And that's the bit that I don't think we're getting across. We can do the connectivity, we can get the data, we can move it around, we can make sure it's secure. We've got the technology. How are we going to generate the value from the insight and the data that we're doing? And that is a different audience within the customer as well.
Mm.
Going to UK Water, it could be in a different directorate as well. We've got clean water, we've got dirty water, we've got OPEX, we've got CAPEX.
Wow.
Trying to take, to put this data in and make it of use to 4 directorates is a challenge.
Yeah, that's an interesting point. You're right, because we talk about water as if, water's just one, but again, that's quite a broad term to use even for this podcast. But so what are those challenges then when you've got those different stakeholders all working towards the same thing, but all got different challenges themselves? How do you sort of overcome that?
Well, like the wonderful world of Siemens, they've got their silos too.
Oh yeah.
And while it's great for you wanting for you to generate this, this IoT data, it doesn't mean anything to me. So I'm just going to carry on doing what I'm doing. So it's transformation. It's transformational change from a work environment, not a technology one. It's a people. I think there's as much of a people challenge that is way outside our scope. That's a bigger piece, which is why, again, I think it's so important that we're working with the right partners in that technology partner channel who are already having those business transformation conversations. What worked really well at Scottish was we partnered with Capgemini, and that's a double-edged sword in that, because Cap have also got competitive products, competitive solutions. But you put that to one side, Cap are having different conversations. They're talking about business transformation. They're talking about how do you reduce the amount of carbon, how do you reduce the amount of CO2 on car emissions and things like that with vans flying around. And they translated that into fewer site visits, which then translated into asset, understanding how the assets were performing. We would never have opened that conversation. But as a technology partner to Cap, where we're using our super strength, our set of connecting the real world to the digital world, that's what we do really, really well. We've got the accelerated piece, the OT, the edge, the cloud, the IT piece, the security, and around that security. That's where our sweet spot. They were able to use that to make the connectivities that they needed. But they carried on the bigger conversation about business transformation.
Yeah, no, that's really interesting. So again, it sort of leads back into this piece about it's not just one vendor or one company that can solve all these problems. It's really a collaboration with different, because we can't just think that. Because, of course, the biggest companies, water companies or outside, they're not just going to use one system for everything, right? They're going to have an ecosystem themselves. So, in that sense, we do have to work, hand in hand. Yeah. I guess we've sort of talked about the challenges so far, Steve, of that face sort of the water industry at the moment. But are there any examples of really positive sort of digital transformation initiatives within the water industry you can sort of share with the audience?
I think that if I was going to pick on one that was a real a bit of a game changer, really, it would be something that we've worked with a company called Additive Earth on. So one of the big developments in UK water recently has been around rivers, river pollution, spilling into it. Climate change. We're getting a wetter environment, so now we're seeing far more river pollution because of overloaded networks. You just can't cope with the amount of water that's coming in it. And on the back of that, something called Section 82 of the Environment Act came in, and that was to help prevent pollution, protect aquatic life, provide the public with real-time information about water quality in rivers, and ensure that water companies are responsible for the impact of their operations. So what it basically means is wherever there is an outflow into a watercourse, there is some form of monitoring above and below that point of outlet, so that we're trying to understand what's the impact of the works or the outlet on the water quality. Now, traditionally, that would have turned into a huge, challenge around sensor deployment. So that means that there will need to be, I suppose, in the next AMP period, about 7,500 sensors deployed that aren't there now, which would have turned into a typical CapEx delivery project. We need these amount of sensors at this cost, fit in here, and they would have just generated a load of data again. So solved the problem. We've fitted the sensor. We've now got the data. What are we going to do with it? And just to give you an idea of the scale of that, as I say, in the next AMP period, which is the next 5-year asset management investment, that'll be 7,200 units. The investment by the water companies to do that is around 914, it's nearly $1 billion that they're going to do that. Now, the traditional way would have to look at it, we work with additive earth. So we're working with additive earth in our accelerator environment, where Siemens are going to provide the connectivity. Additive earth are going to provide the domain expertise. Galliford Try are going to provide the installation, and Atkins are going to provide the hydraulic engineering and modelling around that. So we've taken an ecosystem approach. We're using partners to deliver it, and what we've done is that has enabled, or would enable, the water companies to enjoy around a 33% cost reduction in that 1 billion spend. Well, it's 43% actually. So they'll get a 43% cost reduction by buying that as a service on the back of a digital transformation project. So, we're going to market with that now. We're going to market with that with Additive Earth. They're leading the consortium. We're an integral part of it, providing the OT, the connectivity, our expertise, connecting the real world to the digital world. We're using delivery partners that we're working with to do the site work in Galliford Try, and we're using a partner in Atkins, and it works both ways. They're going to do the hydraulic modelling and consultancy work on it. So I think that would be a great example when we get our first one on digital transformation at scale, with an as-a-service model on the back of it, adopting accelerator principles.
Yeah, no, what a great story. Because I could just imagine what customers think, that it's not possible for 4 different companies. Was it 4? I think you said 4.
Yeah.
And working, all with different goals, different ways of approaching things, different cultures, and managing to work together for the best outcome for the customer, and with cost reduction, significant cost reductions.
Well, yeah. And and that's it. I think you put a really important point there. The customer, what the customer needs is the important thing. And we've gone away and said, okay, what can I offer, or how do we solve this in a room together, and how do we play that back? So fingers crossed, there's a couple of good news stories coming on that. But as is the world of water, everybody wants to trial something. Nobody wants to do anything.
Oh dear.
Which I think goes back to your first point. That your first point about saying how confused is it out there around digital transformation and OT connectivity, that kind of thing. There's that many proof of concepts have gone on in that innovation stage that people are just wary of it. And
I think you could even bring that towards the very specific topic of predictive maintenance as well, because I've seen the market. I've been involved with Senseye for 3 years now, or 3.5 years now, and I've seen the market develop from something where it's a bit of like a magic tool, but to something that predictive maintenance is everywhere and it's labelled on everything, whether it's predictive maintenance or not. They always got a bit, or got a bit of AI attached to it, so it must be predictive maintenance, and that's a problem for me as a marketing person to try and differentiate that.
But I'd love to see how you tackle that one. You start off with predictive maintenance and Senseye, and it's fairly unique, and all of a sudden, everybody in the world says all you need to do is connect the sensor and then put it into AI, and everything will be fine. You don't need anything special. AI will sort all that out, and that's how quickly the message can get boiled down, isn't it? It all becomes a very vanilla statement. Connect a sensor, put it into the cloud. We'll do some AI, and you'll be sorted. And exactly. That's what we're battling against.
No, it absolutely is. Like the AI is magic type thing. And I think you mentioned the Copilot earlier, which is obviously powered by generative AI, which again is another buzzword, and it's another danger of it becoming like a gimmicky, it's a chatbot thing, which can, you can talk to it and do stuff with it. But what we've focused on with Senseye for a number of years is on the outcomes for the customer. And you mentioned it before, the importance of the customer. It's like, how does this help customers? And from my point of view, and we describe it as this and market it as this, or we will be soon, as it's a virtual maintainer or reliability engineer. It's someone, Senseye was already doing that anyway. It was keeping an eye on things when you're not around to check it. And obviously it provides the early warning signs. But now you've got someone you can actually, who's not someone, but a thing which understands all of your assets, all of your cases, knows the history, and then can provide prescriptive insights. And we've got some really good, I interviewed a customer in Australia recently who's got some great results from the Copilot, suggesting what the fix will be, and they save 24 hours in unplanned downtime. So, and that's to come. But yeah, what's your view on that, Steve?
I've the two that jump out for me on that one is don't let's undersell the Copilot piece. The generative AI. It's not up to us to dumb that down. We've got to be really, really positive about that. Is a game changer. It's a game changer in predictive maintenance when we're now telling everybody what the squiggle means. And that's massive in water because nobody knows what the squiggle is. Water isn't the same as Toyota, as Rolls-Royce, as these high value production facilities. We're talking about wastewater treatment pumps. They've got 3 of them, right? So if one fails, they've always got 2 spares. So don't let's undersell that one. The other thing is it's a challenge to us. Can we get better at demonstrating the value in the currency of the customer? And there are tools available. I don't think we're using them. We've got the Shark Finesse tool now, and I'd like to look at how we would add the Shark Finesse world to the Senseye world to monetize that saving. And then free up the cash for it. But I think that's a sales challenge on how we get better at demonstrating value.
Yeah,
and I suppose I'm just giving myself a challenge there. I wasn't the cleverest of things in the world to do, was it?
No, there you go. There's a takeaway for you, Steve, as well as for the audience. But I guess because we're sort of coming towards the end as well. So in terms of those, the key challenges water company face. We've really covered that really well. But what do you anticipate being at the forefront in the next few years for water companies? Both challenges and solutions that they'll need, sort of digital solutions, let's say, they'll need to overcome those challenges.
So I think the big challenge that every water company in the UK is going to face over the next 5 years is around reputation and how they get their reputations back. They've got a real challenge from a consumer's perspective. They've got a challenge on waste. They've got a challenge on pollution. And they're going to wrap that up into 3 areas, all under the umbrella, I think, of sustainability. And they're going to wrap that up into an economic sustainability challenge. They've got £1 billion to spend. How do they get the maximum out of that? In order to do that, it's going to be around digital transformation to optimize works, to reduce energy, to reduce leakage, to do all those kind of things. So digital tools will help them do that. If you then look at the environmental piece, again, that's about reducing the amount of emissions. It's about reducing waste incidents, pollution incidents, making sure that that they're not having an impact on their environment locally, and then it's going to be social. So sustainability will be the umbrella. There'll be three key areas that they're looking to address: economic, environmental, and social. And I think with the tools that we have now, and that superpower to connect the real world to the digital world, and the tools around that, we should be able to build real arguments on how we can help them, meet those sustainability challenges with the Siemens portfolio and partner network around it.
Absolutely. And what a nice positive note to end our session today, Steve. So I think, I guess if people want to find out more about, Siemens and not about Siemens generally, but Siemens and their expertise in the water industry, I think there's some web pages. I think we can share links to in the show notes, or I guess can they find you on LinkedIn?
Yeah, like find me on LinkedIn under Steve Hanslow, funnily enough. So yeah, I'm on there, and there's a link to the web page on there. If you follow the link to my website, we'll be there also.
Excellent.
And if anybody would like to reach out and any questions, please feel free to do so on whatever social media format you wish.
Yeah, even TikTok.
I don't know. I don't think we can do any ticky-tocky. That's a little bit out of my comfort zone. We'll stick with LinkedIn, or email, or Teams, or whatever. Yeah.
Exactly. I agree. Actually, I concur with that. But no, thank you so much, Steve, for spending the time today and sharing your expertise. Like I said, I learned a lot, and I'm sure everyone else out there has too. So yeah, thank you for your time.
Thank you for the invitation. Really enjoyed it.
Brilliant. And we'll have you. I'm sure we'll invite you back on very soon. We have a lot of recurring guests, so if you're up for it, we'll invite you back on at a later stage.
Would love that.
Excellent. But yeah, for now, thank you again, Steve, and thank you to everyone out there for listening to the episode, and we'll see you on the next one. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Please like and subscribe on all major podcast channels, and find out more about Senseye Predictive Maintenance at Siemens.com.